Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a new form to you. We've already talked about standard form, we've talked about slope-intercept form, and today we're going to talk about point-slope form. Now, point-slope form is used pretty much as an easy way to get into slope-intercept form, and we're going to show you how to do that today. So what we're looking at today is point-slope form, and it has this formula basically that you use to get set up. Okay, so point-slope form, the linear equation y minus y subset 1 equals m, parenthesis x minus x subset 1, parenthesis, is written in point-slope form. So when we talk about point-slope form, this right here is what you should be thinking about. You should be looking at that going, oh, okay, well this is the form that it should be in, where m is your slope and y subset 1, x subset 1, that's the point that's being given to you. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. It's written in point-slope form, where x subset 1 is y subset 1 is a given point on a non-vertical line, and m is the slope of the line. So it's non-vertical because you can't do undefined line in point-slope or in slope-intercept form. You just can't write that. So understand you're talking about a non-vertical line here. So what we're going to do is we're really just kind of get into this. We're going to look at how to write and graph an equation in point-slope form. It's really, once you learn this form, it's really not bad. It's just the first time you see it, you look at it, and you kind of go, oh, that's a lot. When you first see it, yes. After that, you start to use this, and it starts making it a little bit easier. Okay, so write an equation in point-slope form for the line that passes through 3, negative 2. So they give you a point on the line, and then they come in here and they say, with a slope of 1/4. So they gave you the point on the line, and they gave you the slope, and they say, write it in point-slope form. Well, it's really all it is substitution. Once they've given you this information, it's substitute in to where it belongs. Well, 3 is your x, negative 2 is your y, 1/4 is your m. So we're going to substitute it in here, right? So you got y minus y1. This is the y that we're going to substitute in for. So negative 2 goes here, 3 goes here, m is your slope, you plug it in here. And this is exactly what they did right here. Y minus negative 2 equals 1/4 times x minus 3. Now, all we've done is substitute. That's it. Substitute in y plus 2, and all they did was simplify this. They said, oh, well, minus a negative, that's addition. You're going to change it to addition, change the sign and the number behind it. Okay, so we got y plus 2 equals 1/4, parenthesis x minus 3, parenthesis. That's point-slope. You have it in point-slope form. So if they tell you to put something in point-slope form, that's what it should look like. That's all you're doing here, right? And then they said, well, hey, let's graph this line and see what it is. No problem, because I know what my point is, 3, negative 2, and even if all I know is this, I know that this is the x, and I know that this is the y out of that. You got to watch your sign here, watch your signs here. That's a positive 3, and that's going to be a negative 2. So 3, negative 2, so they come over here to 3, negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right there's your point. And they say, well, use your slope. Rise 1, run 4. Rise 1, run 4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they put that in there. If they tell you to put it in point-slope form, that's what you're looking for, right there. Okay? Use this. Use this. Make sure you have that. You're going to need it. Okay? All right. So that's just the first part of it. Let's talk a little bit about this. Writing equations, given the slope in one point. Okay, so there's different ways. If you're given the slope and the coordinates of 1 or 2 points, you can write the linear equation in different ways, right? So here, if you're given the slope in one point, step 1 is substitute the values of m and let the x and y coordinates be x subset 1, y subset 1, or substitute the value of m, x, and y into the slope-intercept form and solve for b. We did that in the last video. You should know how to do that part already. But this will make it a little bit easier for you finding that y-intercept. Rewrite the equation in the needed form. So you can do that if you're given the slope and 1 point. Now if you're given 2 points, you find the slope, you have to have that. You choose one of the 2 points to use, so you get to choose one of the two, and then you follow the steps for writing an equation given the slope and 1 point. So you do this, and you go back over here and follow along on that, okay? Really, this little right here, really good instructions on how to get it into one of your forms, okay? Now we're going to talk about standard form tomorrow, but today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form. So here, if you're in point-slope form, you need to be able to convert into slope-intercept form. So given point-slope, go to slope-intercept form, because this is really kind of how we use this, right? Make it a little bit easier. Write y plus 3 equals 3 over 2, parentheses x plus 1, parentheses in slope-intercept form. So point-slope form, we want to go to slope-intercept form. And if you remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So you're solving for y. That's what you're going to try and do, solve for y. So we want to isolate this variable right here, the y. We want to get it all by itself. Everything else to the other side. Well, before you do this, you need to simplify both sides of your equation. Once you have both sides simplified, then you can start moving things around. Y plus 3 equals 3/2, parentheses x plus 1. They take the first step, they distributed this fraction through. Now, be careful with distributing your fractions. Sometimes it'll come out really nice and neat. Sometimes it won't. It's okay. Remember your fraction rules. If you know your fraction rules, this is not going to be a problem. If you don't remember your fraction rules, brush up on that, then try and do this. Okay, so distribute through. Y plus 3 equals 3/2 x plus 3/2. Now, you need to move the 3 over to this other side here. Okay, so y equals 3/2 x minus 3 over 2. Subtract 3. Yeah, okay. All right, so we're going to do this here in just a moment. Okay, so that's where we're headed. We're going to show several different problems, do that. So we're going to come over to the boards and we're going to go through this process, because this process is really what I want us to get out of this, right? We need to be able to go from one, write it in point slope, and then take it to slope-intercept form. That's the process by which I want us to do. Go in, get into point slope, turn it into slope-intercept. All right, so here we go. We have a point and we have the slope. Putting it into slope-intercept form, point slope form, not that big a deal. We're going to use this right here. Gotta know this in order to be able to do this. So the y equals y subset 1, that's 1 right here. Remember, this is your x, this is your y, this is your slope, this is your m. Okay, so here and here, I'm even going to put the subset 1s there just to make sure so that you understand which one they're going in for. Okay, y minus, I was trying to put it in slope-intercept form, y minus 1 equals the slope, -6, parentheses, the x, minus x subset 1, -2, close parentheses. All right, now we want to solve for our y here. So we're going to be moving everything over to the other side, but before we do that, we got to simplify this side right here. So y minus 1 equals distributive property. This gets multiplied by each term inside of those parentheses. -6x minus negative times a negative gets a positive. There we go. Now we're going to take and add this to both sides. +1, +1. Okay, that'll cross this out right here. So you get this y equals -6x, and now this goes with this, so that's a -12 plus 1, okay, gets me -11. Slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. There we go. So our slope is -6, our y-intercept is -11. See how easy that was to go in there? Now, what I taught you before was solve for b, then substitute it back in there. If you're good with this, this is going to make it much easier. The This is one of the reasons that we have this. It makes it easier. All right, moving in. Now, we're already set up here in slope, point slope form. Say it correctly. Point slope form. When you see this, you should recognize this. You should look at it and go, oh, hey, that's in point slope. I know what I can do with that. So we want to write it in slope-intercept form. Well, simplify both sides before you do that. Y plus 6 equals, distribute the negative 3 through, negative 3x plus 12. Now, move the 6 over. I like to say add the inverse because that makes more sense to me. You could just subtract out 6, that's the same thing. Okay. Okay. That'll get rid of this. You get y equals negative 3x plus 12 plus negative 6, slope-intercept form, right there. This is not complicated once you're comfortable moving things around on both sides. Okay? Here's your slope, here's your y-intercept. Notice your slope, it's still there, All right, negative 2, 5, slope, negative 6. Put it in point slope form first. Y minus your y1, okay, so here, x subset 1, y subset 1, and if you have to, do that. Make it easier on yourself. Label it. Y minus 5 equals your slope, negative 6, parenthesis, the x minus x subset 1, so negative 2. Now, simplify this side. And again, a lot of these have been coming out nice and neat, not all of them will. Y minus 5 equals negative 6x, distributive property, minus negative 6 times negative 2, 12. Move the 5 to the other side, add its inverse. Leaves you with y equals negative 6x, negative 12 plus 5, minus 7. Y equals negative 6x minus 7. Make sure I did that correctly. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Slope, y-intercept. All right. Now here, watch these when you have a slope like this. You're going to have to distribute that slope through. Be aware of what you're doing, but first let's put it into point slope form. Okay? Y, y minus y subset 1, x subset 1, y minus negative 8 equals the slope 5 over 6, parentheses x minus negative 2. Now simplify both sides. Right here, negative or minus a negative becomes positive. Y plus 8 equals, distribute this through 5, 6x. Negative minus negative becomes positive. Distribute that through there. So you have 5, 6 times 2 over 1. This is those fraction rules. I'm going to go through those fraction rules for us, make sure we're really comfortable with them. Right? Okay, so y plus 8 equals 5, 6x plus, and here, I'm going to cross cancel right here, make it a little bit easier on us. This becomes 3, this becomes 1, 5 times 1 gets me 5, 3 times 1 gets me 3. So far so good. Now, I need to move the 8 to this side, because we're solving for y. So, add the inverse, okay? Gets us y equals 5, 6x plus 5/3 plus negative 8. But we got to turn, we got to get a common denominator here. So first things first, I'm going to turn that into a fraction. Now I'm going to use a common denominator. Well, if this is a 1 and this is a 3, my common denominator is 3. So I need to turn this into a fraction with a denominator of 3. So y equals 5/6 plus 5/3 plus negative 3 times, multiply times 3, multiply times 3, 24 over 3. Now I can actually combine these two fractions. And guys, I know if you're in algebra, you got a calculator that'll do most of this for you. It's okay. But I wanted you to see the process. Okay, so y equals 5/6 plus, subtract, your denominator is going to stay the same, so keep the sign of the bigger number. Y equals 5/6 plus negative 19 over 3. You might also see it written like this. Those two things are the same thing. I understand they're the same thing. If you see multiple choice question, it's going to be this one almost exclusively that they give you. So be aware of that. But not all your answers are going to be nice, neat, and clean like these others have been. Sometimes you're going to get this. What this means is that this is where your y-intercept is. This is your slope. And it's okay. It's okay. All right, one more. But the process, it's the process that you got to see because the process is the same all the way through. You have a point, you have a slope, put it into point slope. Y minus 3 equals negative 1/2, parentheses, x minus 4. Simplify both sides. Y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x minus 4 times negative 1/2. And what you're going to end up doing here is you're going to convert this to here. I'm going to go ahead and do click, click right there. And I'm going to cross cancel. You should be able to see what that is. Okay, so y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x plus a negative times a negative is positive. 4 over 2 reduces to 2. And now I'm going to be moving this to this side. Add the inverse to both sides. Okay, get you y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. Once you get to this point, the rest is things that you have learned. Everything else is things that you've learned. Distributive property, moving things to the from one side to the other, adding the inverse, things like that. Putting it into slope-intercept form, solving for the y. That's what it is. Okay. As if you have any questions, need help, let me know.